So yesterday or the day before, I'm reading the Hartford Courant. There you are, all over the Hartford Courant, talking about things that we have been talking about.
Joe, this is it. Monday morning, 7 o'clock.
Here
we go.
Jesus. I opened the show today saying the same thing. You know, everybody should tune in because we're ahead of the curve 90% of the time. We're saying the sky is falling in some areas, and we're right 90% of the more than 90% of the time. And you were on board, or you were on the mark with this. You know, right out as COVID was happening, you were talking about this.
Yeah. So listen, anybody who listens to me on your show or anywhere, for years now, I have been saying we have a crisis on our highways. I mean, we could sit here and play this forever, right? You could go back in time and clip it from your SoundCloud day after day. Greg screaming and yelling because we're losing 300 and some people on our highways. And, traffic stops are way down. Enforcement is way down. Law enforcement is completely disenfranchised. And I've been saying that for years. And I've never come out and said, geez, I wonder what the governor's office number is. How many fatalities do we need on our highways before we start to do something? Because I don't think that that's necessarily a fair statement, because it almost seems like he's waiting for a certain number of people to die. And that's not true. I mean, he's not an evil human being, right? And I don't want to represent that. I never would. But what I do find interesting is this. In 2020, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. In 2022, the number of fatalities was somewhere around 370-ish, give or take. In 2023, that number has come down, starting to come down, the fatalities. And now the governor is calling attention to it. Gee, why? It's an even year. And what did I say on your show a few months ago or a few weeks ago when we were talking about lowering the BAC? And I came here and I said, I'll tell you what's happening. This fatal crash stuff is starting to catch on. I've been saying it enough in enough different places. It's starting to catch on, and there's going to be political pressure to my colleagues to do something about what's going on our highways. And, of course, we're going to lower the BAC. But we already went on and on about how that doesn't actually do anything. So now they're actually coming to the podium Thursday. The governor did, and he said, we need more enforcement on our roads. Now, this is a guy for 3 years has done everything in his power to stop more enforcement. Okay, and police officers in this state are so disenfranchised and their morale is so low. The new commissioner himself on February 1st said it. He said he went and visited all the troops. His words, not mine. Morale is low. They do not feel supported. In that article that you talked about, the governor's chief spokeswoman says, no, we disagree with Rep. Howard. They feel supported. No, they don't. And you know something, Lee, yesterday, I got text message after text message after text message from police officers and retired police officers around this state saying, thank God for you. Thank God somebody's willing to say it. Thank God somebody's saying what we're all thinking. I just hope somebody finally listens to you. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just telling you, we didn't have to get to this point.
Right.
And we forced ourselves to this point. And I keep hearing about how the ranks are down, the ranks are down, the ranks are down. And they are. There's no doubt about that. Right. I mean, numbers are numbers. But police officers and police departments run on minimum staffing. So even if some of the officers are on overtime when they come in, they have to fit minimum staff. There's a 65% reduction in traffic stops from 2019 to 2022. You take those 2 COVID years out and you compare them. You can't tell me that the patrols in the state police generally run 65% above minimum staff. There's no way. That's not a real number. Maybe once in a while, but they're not running that much higher. And it's not just traffic stops. Traffic stops is one aspect of something. But then you look at the 2022 Uniform Crime Report. From 2013 through 2019 inclusive, and again, I just want to be clear, I don't have these exact numbers in front of me, something like 23% of cases were cleared. No, what does that mean? Essentially, it means the police were solving 23-ish% of cases on average from 2013 to 2019. From 2020 through 2022, that number went down to 16%. It came down 7%, or about a 30% drop. At the time that we had the best technology we've ever had, we've talked about license plate readers around this state recently. We have forensic science that's going, so fast that we're barely keeping up with it in what we can do to put people at scenes and reconstruct crime scenes. We have everybody in the world carries a cell phone now, which You get into somebody's cell phone, that is a treasure chest. The cell phone knows more about what that person did than the person does because the people forget and the cell phone doesn't. We have all this technology and the clearance rate is dropping by that much. Why? And how many times have I said this? The majority party in Hartford and the governor's office have completely lost sight of the fact that police officers are human beings. So if we went down throughout Connecticut right now, we marched 100 CEOs in here, put them in a room, and said, whatever, big companies, small companies, medium companies, said, hey, every morning you come in and you completely first thing in the morning, you disparage your employees for half an hour. What happens to your productivity? And I'll guarantee you 100 of them say it goes down. Of course it goes down. They're human beings. You slam them all the time. Their productivity is going to go down. So then you take that over and say police officers are human beings. And they've been slammed day after day after day after day for 3 months. And now what happened? Well, productivity is down because they are human beings. And we like to say things like, well, we hold them to a higher standard. Well, that's a half a sentence. We hold them to a higher standard when they did something wrong. But we never hold them high when they do something right. We just don't do that in this state anymore. And that's a big part of the problem. So he can stand at a podium all he wants and say, I support law enforcement and I want them to go out and do a good job. But let me tell you something. Every single cop in this state sat there and heard, wow, liar. 100%.
It's crystal clear to me, and we're on with Greg Howard. If you guys want to weigh in, you can, 860-464-9490. I'll look at it from the political standpoint of it. You mentioned it early on. I mentioned it earlier this morning, too, is that it's disgraceful that after, 3 years, more than that with him, of basically either ignoring the cops or demonizing the cops or, siding with the progressive left on either defunding or dismantling police departments. This governor now, because there's an election looming on the horizon and people are beginning to squawk about the rampant crime and what's happening on the roads and the drug abuse and the fentanyl and all of this, all of a sudden now he comes out and talks about how he wants more cops. It is essential. It's imperative. We need the people who are listening to us right now to recognize this as being nothing but a con. It's nothing but a con. It's a grift. They're lying to you. And as soon as the election comes and goes, that'll be it. They'll forget about it.
And this is the thing. So and when people say to me, well, you get passionate about it because you're a police officer. Well, look, maybe. But here, the real truth is this, Lee. I've been in public service, in public safety since I was 14 years old. When I was 14 years old, I walked through the front door of Wesley Ambulance Corps as a junior member. As soon as I could, I got my EMT license. I was climbing out of bed at 18, 19 years old in the middle of the night to go save lives. And I've saved a lot of lives. I have dedicated my entire existence to public safety. I've told you this a million times. I am not being the state rep because I have aspirations for higher office or I want to be some political mogul or something like that. I'm here to make a difference. You just played in your lead play, and I think Ben Proto said it the best. Your state legislators have more impact in your day-to-day life than the federal delegation ever will. And that's not to disparage them at all in the hard work that they all do down in Washington, D.C. But you talked about crime being up. Well, the Democrats like to get the UCR report, the Uniform Crime Report, and say, well, crime is down. Well, they forgot a word. Reported crime is down. Because the unreported crime is in the abstract. So you have to wonder, how many victims are disenfranchised in this state when they see 40 murderers being let out of jail, when they see the constant whittling away of bond as we know it, when they the constant whittling away of policing and the ability to do policing, because we have now, in the last 3 years, taken the words police accountability and made it synonymous with police restrictions. It's not the same thing. Holding a police officer accountable when he or she does something wrong and restricting their ability to do their job are notably different. But we've mixed them together so we can push bad policy to the state of Connecticut. Now, the governor has a bill out right now based on this, this whole traffic thing. And can we talk about that for a minute? Because this is a guy who says he supports law enforcement. Well, let's take a little look at things, okay? And by the way, he wants to talk about impaired driving. This is a guy who signed a bill that said when you're driving down the road smoking a joint, the police officers can't stop you simply for impairing your ability to drive. But he's concerned about traffic safety? You have got to be kidding me. You have any idea how insulting that is to every single person listening? Every single person who listens to him say that, so you have got to be kidding me. Do you think I'm that stupid? That I'm going to think that you actually care about traffic safety when you're doing this? You're pushing this bill through? And we're losing 300 and some people a year on our highways? That's ridiculous. So he puts a bill forward. The bill does a few things, and it's in the wake of the traffic stop thing with the state police. First of all, it says if a police officer falsifies a record or whatever, however it's worded, a law enforcement record they call it, he could be decertified. Well, guess what? Last year alone, in 2023, go on the Post website. I think it was 8 people were decertified for falsifying records and being untruthful. So was that done illegally? Because apparently the governor says we need a new law. We don't need a new law. It already exists. That was put in there simply to disparage law enforcement one more time. Another opportunity is to take his foot and put it on the throats of every cop in the state of Connecticut while he stands at a podium for political gain and tries to say that, he and his Hartford cronies support law enforcement. They don't, and they don't care about public safety, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. Meanwhile, it creates a new felony, and it says when a police officer, now that's very specific, when a police officer falsifies a law enforcement record, they're guilty of a D felony. So I want to share something with you. I have it right here on my screen. We have existing in the state of Connecticut now a crime of second-degree forgery, and it says this. A person is guilty of forgery in the second degree when, with intent to defraud, deceive, or injure another, he falsely makes, compels, or alters a written instrument or issues or possesses any instrument which he knows to be forged, which is or purports to be or calculated to become or represent, if completed, a written instrument officially issued or created by a public office, public servant, which I'm pretty sure police officers are, or governmental instrumentality. So if you take the fact that police officers, a couple, by the way, troopers, were falsifying their traffic stop data, and you want to make it a crime, it exists already in statute. We don't need a new crime. And if the fact that they weren't arrested, I have no idea why that happened. Maybe the state's attorney's office decided not to prosecute. Maybe the IA didn't refer to the state's attorney's office. I don't know. But I do know is I think the law fits. But I'm not an attorney.
Did you stand up and say that when it was going on? I'm curious. I'm not putting it on you. But when they were debating this, was that something that you threw out there?
Debating
that particular portion of that law?
No, because by the time this whole thing came to fruition, right, the statute of limitations had already expired. Well, potentially. Okay. There's sort of an anomaly, but right. I've been saying right. a million times, because the press keeps saying, well, don't you think what do you think if a cop lies? That's okay? No, I've never said it's okay. In fact, right. I said the exact opposite. I've said it a million times. Right. But this happens all the time. It happens with your listeners. They ask a question, I answer the question. It's not what they wanted me to say. So they say he didn't answer the question, right. But whatever. So anyway, I go back. So let's take so the governor has a bunch of attorneys smarter than me working for him, okay? So let's assume that statute I just read doesn't fit. Let's just assume it doesn't. So we need a new statute. Mm-hmm. We need a new statute that says if you falsify a law enforcement record, which would be a ticket, right? Then, or any information around it, or information reported to the Alvin W. Penn, if you falsify any of that, you're guilty of a Class D felony. But only if you're a police officer. Because we learned in this last 10 months that dispatchers make entries into those records, Centralized Infractions Bureau employees make entries into those records. So if forgery second doesn't apply to that now, and we need this new law, and it applies only to police officers and nobody else, what you're saying is if somebody at CIB does it, it's not a crime. If a dispatcher does it, it's not a crime. But if a police officer does it, he's a felon. And I'm out here supporting police. Give me a break. Give me a break. Last part of his bill. It says that when somebody alleges, very important word, when somebody alleges that a police officer falsified a record, he'll be referred to the state's attorney's office for an investigation. Now, let me tell you what happens when somebody gets referred to the state's attorney's office for an investigation. They go on administrative leave. They don't count towards the minimum staffing, which means your ranks are going down even more. You're paying overtime to bring more people in, so that's a backdoor way of defunding the police because you're running up the overtime budget. And that poor guy or gal is ineligible for overtime. And you know what? Cops don't make a ton of money. A lot of them rely on overtime, all right? And because you have to hit minimum staffing, you're ordering people in probably. So now you got cops working 16-hour shifts. And we know what happened in Hartford when a guy worked a 16-hour shift and didn't do things to the standard of Mariam Khan. And he was so exhausted when he left, he crashed and was out of work for several weeks or months. So any person alleges that. Now, let me tell you something, Lee. It happens in this state every single day where people say the officer lied in the report because they don't like the way the report reads. Traffic crashes is a great example. Well, I didn't think it was my fault. The officer lied about what happened. Well, if they allege that, Even if the body cam shows it's not true,
Right.
if they allege it, according to the governor, that guy or gal has to get referred to the state's attorney's office. Can't wait overtime to feed their family. Somebody else is getting ordered in. Overtime budgets are going up. They've already raised the police budgets enough with the police accountability bill. Overtime budgets going up because it was alleged. Do you know why we have the domestic violence laws that we do? Because victims of domestic violence will generally not turn on their accuser. And sometimes they do in the moment, and the police officer does a report. And do you know how many domestic violence, this is very sad, but how many domestic violence victims come back and say, oh, the officer lied, I never said that? She alleges that, or he alleges that to the police officer, over to the state's attorney's office for investigation. That's it. Now, when did Jennifer Dulos go missing?
A couple years ago.
When did Michelle Draconis get arrested? She just now got convicted. That's how backed up the state's attorney's office is. Now we're going to saddle them with every single thing that somebody comes in and doesn't like the way a police officer did a report and, quote, alleges that it was not accurate. That goes to the state's attorney's office. We're going to back the courts up even more and leave these guys and gals in the hot seat, 6, 7 months?
Is that how long? So something as simple as that, you could be out of work for that long?
I have no idea. I mean, it's not like the state's attorney's office is going to say, okay, this was fine and send it back. Once this becomes law, they're going to have to do an actual investigation. They're going to have to assign somebody to it. They're going to have to do reports. All that stuff has to be documented. It's not as simple as taking a look at the body camera. Yeah, it's fine and go away. Right? That doesn't work, especially in Connecticut. Because you have to remember something. It doesn't matter what happened. We know one thing. The cop was wrong.